Ancient jungle cure. Deep within the emerald heart of the planet, where the canopy is so thick that daylight filters down in shimmering, cathedral-like shafts, lies a world that operates on a different clock. This is the Amazon rainforest, a realm not of minutes and hours, but of seasons, cycles, and ancient, unbroken lineages of knowledge. For countless generations, its indigenous communities have lived not just in the forest, but it. They are its librarians, its custodians, and its children. Every vine, every leaf, every insect hums with a story, a purpose, a meaning that has been passed down through ritual, song, and spoken word. In this vast, living library, one story was held more sacred than any other. It was the story of the Kara Nuna, the spirit of life flower. This was no ordinary blossom. The Kara Nuna didn't just grow, it pulsed. In the deep twilight of the jungle floor, its petals would unfurl to reveal an otherworldly bioluminescence, a soft, captivating glow that seemed to breathe in rhythm with the forest itself. Its colors were a riot of deep indigo and vibrant magenta, a stark, beautiful anomaly against the endless green. But its beauty was merely a whisper of its true power. To the tribes who guarded its secret, the Kara Nuna was a direct gift from the Earth Mother, a physical manifestation of life's fierce, unyielding will to survive. They believed it held the key to reversing the great wasting sickness, a terrible affliction that caused the body to turn on itself, to wither and fade from the inside out. In our modern language, we would call it cancer. The knowledge of how to use this flower was not written in books or stored on servers. It was etched into the memory of the tribe's shaman, the healer who served as the bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. This wisdom was a complex tapestry woven from botany, spirituality, and a profound intuitive understanding of human biology. The shaman knew which moon phase was right for the harvest, which prayers to offer in gratitude, and which specific leaves to pair with the flower to unlock its full potential. The preparation was a meticulous ritual. The glowing petals were not simply crushed or boiled. They were gently steeped in cool, pure water collected from a specific waterfall under the light of a full moon. The resulting infusion was a luminous, faintly glowing liquid that was administered in small, ceremonial doses over the course of several weeks. The results were described in their oral histories as nothing short of miraculous. They spoke of villagers, hollowed out by the wasting sickness, who would, after the treatment, begin to regain their strength. The color would return to their skin, the light to their eyes. The tribe's understanding of its mechanism was poetic, not clinical. They said the spirit of life entered the body and sought out the shadows, the places where life had forgotten itself and begun to die. It didn't wage a war. It reminded the dying cells of their purpose, gently coaxing them back into the harmonious cycle of life and death, allowing the healthy body to flourish once more. This holistic view, treating the spirit to heal the body, was fundamental. The healing was not just biochemical, it was a spiritual realignment. This profound knowledge was a cornerstone of their culture and survival. It reinforced their belief system that the forest provides everything needed for a healthy life, so long as it is respected and understood. This wasn't a resource to be exploited. It was a partner in existence. The location of the Kara Nuna was the most closely guarded secret of all, known only to the shaman and their chosen apprentice. It grew in a single hidden valley, a microclimate of impossible lushness, where the air was thick with mist and the very soil seemed to thrum with energy. This secrecy was not born of selfishness, but of a deep-seated understanding of balance. They knew the flower was powerful, and that power in the wrong hands could be corrupting. They took only what was needed, ensuring the plant's survival for all future generations. For centuries, this sacred pact between people and plant remained unbroken, a perfect symbiosis hidden away from the relentless march of the modern world. They had a cure, a real one, born of nature and nurtured by wisdom. They had no idea that the world outside their forest home was desperately searching for what they already possessed, and that its discovery would not bring salvation, but a profound and devastating betrayal. The greatest treasure of the Amazon wasn't gold or oil. It was a glowing flower in a secret valley, and the clock was ticking down to the day its secret would be stolen.
Pharma's stolen billions. The outside world arrived not with a bang, but with a whisper. It came in the form of rumors, fragmented stories told by traders and explorers about a remote tribe that possessed a mythical healing power, a flower that could chase death away. These whispers eventually found their way from dusty market towns to the sterile, air-conditioned boardrooms of the world's largest pharmaceutical corporations. For a company like Viridia Health, a titan of the industry with a portfolio of profitable but uninspired drugs, such a rumor was more than just a curiosity. It was the siren song of a potential blockbuster, a multi-billion-dollar holy grail. They dispatched ethnobotanists, researchers cloaked in the guise of academic curiosity, with a singular, undisclosed mission: find the source of these rumors and acquire it. One of these researchers, a man we'll call Dr. Alastair Finch, was a master of his craft. He was charming, patient, and spoke of a desire to learn from the tribe, to preserve their dying knowledge for the good of humanity. He spent months on the periphery of the community, slowly earning their trust, sharing modern medicines for common ailments, and respecting their customs. He was playing the long game. The tribe, isolated and seeing what they believed to be a man of genuine respect, eventually allowed him into their inner circle. The shaman, seeing Finch's seemingly sincere reverence for the natural world, made a fateful decision. He showed him the Kara Nuna. He shared the story, the ritual, the breathtaking truth of its power. Finch documented everything: the preparation, the ceremony, the location of the hidden valley. He took photographs, notes, and, most importantly, under the cover of darkness, he took samples. Small, sealed vials containing leaves, petals, and soil, the genetic blueprint for a billion-dollar fortune. He left with promises of collaboration, of sharing any discoveries, of ensuring the tribe would be honored. It was all a lie. The moment those vials arrived at Viridia Health's sprawling R&D campus, the sacred became secular. The spiritual became chemical. In a high-tech laboratory, a world away from the misty Amazon Valley, the Kara Nuna was systematically dismantled. Using mass spectroscopy and genetic sequencing, scientists quickly isolated the active compound responsible for its incredible properties. They were astounded. The molecule, which they named fluoromycin, had a unique cytotoxic mechanism. It was able to identify and induce apoptosis, programmed cell death, in cancerous cells with an almost unbelievable specificity, leaving healthy cells completely unharmed. It was the perfect cancer drug, a guided missile of molecular biology. The lab erupted in celebration. They hadn't just found a new drug, they had found the cure they'd been searching for. With the compound isolated, Viridia's legal team moved with ruthless efficiency. They immediately filed a flurry of patents, not just on fluoromycin itself, but on its synthetic variants and the entire method of its production. By patenting a lab-grown synthetic version of the molecule, they legally circumvented any claim the indigenous community might have. They argued they weren't patenting the flower, but their own invention, a novel chemical entity. It was a brilliant, cynical legal maneuver. The knowledge was stolen, but the intellectual property, as they defined it, was theirs and theirs alone. The shaman's ancient wisdom was now Viridia Health's exclusive asset, protected by a wall of international patents. The drug, branded as Virenzia, was fast-tracked through clinical trials with spectacular success. It annihilated tumors in late-stage patients, offering hope where there was none. When it hit the market, its success was meteoric. Viridia Health launched a massive marketing campaign, hailing Virenzia as a triumph of modern science, a testament to their tireless innovation. Their CEO appeared on the cover of business magazines, lauded as a visionary. The company's stock price skyrocketed, generating tens of billions of dollars in revenue. A single course of Virenzia was priced at over $100,000, justified by the company as necessary to recoup their massive investment in research and development. And what of the indigenous community, the original custodians of this life-saving knowledge? They received nothing. Not a single dollar, not a word of recognition, not even a thank you. The promises made by Dr. Finch evaporated into the jungle mist. When a curious journalist, following the origins of the drug, eventually traced it back to the tribe, Viridia Health's official response was cold and dismissive. They claimed their discovery was the result of a broad, random screening program of thousands of plant species, and that any connection to traditional knowledge was purely coincidental and anecdotal. They buried the truth under a mountain of legal jargon and corporate public relations. The healers who had safeguarded a cure for one of humanity's worst plagues were left with nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal. Their sacred gift twisted into a symbol of corporate greed. A stolen miracle generating unimaginable wealth for everyone except them.
Block 3. Legacy of Injustice. The global success of Virenzia was hailed as a monumental victory for medicine, yet it was built on a foundation of profound moral corruption. In the wake of its blockbuster release, Viridia Health was forced to address the mounting questions about the drug's origins. Their defense was a masterclass in corporate deflection. They argued that nature and the knowledge of nature cannot be owned. Yet they had used the patent system to do exactly that, to create a legal monopoly over a molecule derived from that very knowledge. They pointed to the $1.2 billion they invested in R&D and clinical trials, framing themselves as the heroic risk-takers who had transformed a folk remedy into a safe, effective, and globally available medicine. What they conveniently omitted was that the most expensive and difficult part of drug discovery, finding a viable lead compound, had been done for them for free. The generations of trial and error, the keen observation, the sacred knowledge of the Amazonian healers, this was the true, uncredited research, and its value was incalculable. This act of corporate theft is known as biopiracy. It's the practice of commercializing traditional knowledge of natural resources, often from indigenous communities, without obtaining proper consent or providing fair compensation. The story of the Karanuna is a textbook example. Viridia Health exploited a legal gray area, arguing that since the tribe's knowledge wasn't documented in a scientific journal or protected by a patent, it was part of the public domain, free for the taking. This cynical logic ignores the very nature of oral traditions, which preserve knowledge through memory and ritual, not legal paperwork. It's a system designed by and for the Western corporate world, one that inherently devalues and dismisses any other form of knowing. For the indigenous community, the consequences were devastating.
The arrival of Virenzia on the global stage brought a new kind of threat. The coincidental discovery story was thin, and soon illegal prospectors and rival corporations began to scour the region, hoping to find the fabled flower for themselves. This led to an increase in deforestation and violent clashes with outsiders, disrupting the delicate ecosystem and the tribe's way of life. The very sacredness of their knowledge became a curse, attracting a world of greed they were not equipped to fight. The ultimate irony was that as the price of Virenzia put it far beyond the reach of anyone in their community, their own access to the wild Karanuna became threatened by the gold rush Viridia had created. They were the keepers of the cure, yet they were now more vulnerable than ever. This is not an isolated story. The history of medicine is littered with similar examples. From the rosy periwinkle of Madagascar, which gave us cancer drugs, to the hudia cactus of the Sand People in southern Africa, used for appetite suppression, the pattern repeats. Indigenous knowledge provides the clue, and a corporation reaps the rewards. International agreements like the Nagoya Protocol on Access and Benefit Sharing have been established to prevent precisely this kind of exploitation. The protocol mandates that the benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources be shared in a fair and equitable way. However, enforcement is weak, and powerful corporations with their armies of lawyers are adept at finding loopholes or simply ignoring the rules when operating in remote, poorly regulated regions. The struggle for the Amazonian tribe continues. Aided by international NGOs and human rights lawyers, they have launched a lawsuit against Viridia Health, a David and Goliath battle that has been crawling through the courts for years. They aren't just seeking money, they are seeking recognition. They are fighting for the principle that their knowledge has value, that their cultural heritage is not a free resource for the taking. They are fighting to reclaim a story that was stolen from them. This battle forces us to ask ourselves some deeply uncomfortable questions. Who truly benefits from nature's gifts? Is our model of pharmaceutical innovation, one that prioritizes patents and profits over people, fundamentally just? What is the real cost of a cure if it is born from an act of profound injustice? The story of the Karanuna is a stark reminder that true healing can never be achieved through exploitation. It's about more than just medicine. It's about respect, equity, and acknowledging the wisdom of those who came before us.